Mr. Lot, welcome back to the channel, baby. We have got an amazing video today. We've got so much research done. Please remember, none of this is financial advice, for entertainment only. To support the channel, please hit the thumbs up, drop me some comments down below, hit the subscribe button, and there's a little notification bell as well. So when you subscribe, you can make sure you don't miss any videos. Click that bell. And also, if you'd like to send any donations, there's a PayPal link in my description box below. All donations are welcome. Thank you so much for your support, and I really appreciate you guys. So Bionano Genomics, we are awaiting the adoption. So today we're going to show you some research. We're also going to show you some events that have been going on. Trust me, stay until the end of the video. You do not want to miss this. So first up, we have Joseph Butler in the UK. This was the former sales manager of Bionano Genomics here in the UK, and he went to his local GP. His GP was asking him, do you work in genetics? What do you know about BNGO? Bingo. Joe Butler said he used to work for them. Doctor checks his notes. You're Joe Butler? Oh my gosh, is Bionano the real deal? And Cowboy Joe told him it's the real effing deal. So although he left the company, this is a fun fact, he left a comment as well on Twitter saying that he's put his family's life savings into Bionano Genomics. So it's encouraging to see that he still actively talks about Bionano Genomics. He still works in the genomics field. He moved over to 10x Genomics. As we can see here, science enthusiast working for 10x Genomics. Have you guys heard of a company called Oxford Nanopore? It was making hot news as the new kind of sequencing company set to disrupt the sequencing world. So they've released this, and they said that Daniela Soto, a PhD candidate at the University of California, she's also a Chilean Fulbright Fellow. So she's currently been looking at complex genomic regions in great apes, and she wants to understand how these regions impact evolution and disease. So Daniela over here has been using optical genome mapping alongside Oxford Nanopore's nanopore sequencing. Over in Germany, in the city of Göttingen, we can take a look here. Jonathan Luhmann from Hanover Medical School was sharing his work on optical genome mapping in acute lymphoblastic leukemia at the Comprehensive Cancer Center. So here he is on stage sharing and presenting optical genome mapping and his work. And fun fact, the Göttingen city in Germany is known for its university. The old botanical garden has a collection of medicinal plants and arboretum. So everyone is asking about, optical genome mapping, its utility, its scalability, how often will people use it? I just want you to take a look at this, yeah? So first, let's look at kind of sequencing. So is genome sequencing available on the NHS? Whole genome sequencing can be requested using standard order forms for patients and family members with rare diseases or cancer. So that's what they're focusing on in the NHS. So genome sequencing for rare disease and cancer. How much does it cost? It's absolutely free. Genetic testing is free on the NHS, but you need a referral and it needs to be by a hospital specialist. Yet again, they stated you'll only generally be referred if you have a suspected genetic health condition or if you have a particular type of cancer. Moving on, there's loads of studies at play right now. So in November 2022, optical genome mapping, clinical validation and diagnostic utility for cytogenomic analysis of hematological neoplasms. There's a few familiar faces here. You can see Alex Hasti, Alka Chowdhury, Ravindra Kohli, Nikhil Sahajpal. And if we scroll down, they said some of the issues that people are facing is with the current standard of care is that it's labor intensive, it takes up time, and it's cost prohibitive. Not only that, but it doesn't always reveal the genetic complexity of the tumor. So optical genome mapping's emerged with this technology that can solve those issues. And if we scroll down here, their recommendations, this first CLIA validation report demonstrates the technical and analytical advantages of optical genome mapping compared to the current standard of care methods used for chromosomal characterization. So they recommend optical genome mapping as a potential first-tier cytogenetic test for the evaluation of hematological neoplasms. And these guys have been heavy at work again, because we can see here lots of different familiar names here. You can see Brian Levy, Rashmi Kanagal-Shamana, who is the president of the Cancer Genomics Consortium now. You can see a lot of familiar names, Nikhil Sahajpal, Ravindra Kohli, and this one was looking at acute myeloid leukemia and optical genome mapping's role in diagnosis or detection of hallmark genomic aberrations. Anyways, the results from the study indicate that optical genome mapping effectively recovers clinically relevant structural variants and copy number variants found by the standard of care methods. Not only does it do that, but it reveals additional structural variants that weren't reported. So furthermore, optical genome mapping minimizes the need for labor-intensive multiple cytogenetic tests. So not only are you going to save time and save efforts, but it also maximizes diagnostic detection through a standardized workflow. So they're heavy into the studies, heavy into the recommendations, trying to push through optical genome mapping into the main spotlight, how do you call it? Anyways, here is a hall full of people. Looks like an elegant hall, right? The revolution cometh. So the Northeastern Yorkshire Genomics Hub that is on Twitter, you can see here, this was the NHS Genomics 2022 event, and it was full of loads of speakers, and everybody was fascinated with what people were coming out with in their research. So it gave their team the chance to talk about their projects and how they're going to embed genomics into the National Health Service. So they're looking to be part of this revolutionary change, and they're super excited, and there's so much interest, as you can see. These guys also attended the National NHS Genomics Healthcare Summit. So if we scroll down here, you can see that loads of NHS colleagues were sharing genomic advances in cancer, rare disease, heart disease, fetal-maternal care, but we want to know what they presented. So the NHS Northeastern Yorkshire Genomics Medicine Service, if you scroll down to the bottom, the third point here will say that they shared evaluation of clinical utility of optical genome mapping in diagnostic NHS genomics. This is by Gavin Cuthbert, Dr. Gavin Cuthbert. So he was presenting and sharing his experiences and how, he's using optical genome mapping in diagnostic NHS genomics and the big opportunities that it provides. They're calling this a new genomic technology which looks at the human genome in a totally novel way. Moving forward, I was reading another study and they were looking at conclusion of diagnostic odysseys due to inversions disrupting GLI3 and FBN1. Within this, it spoke about, the 100,000 Genomes Project, which was here in the UK, and how the previous studies and the 100,000 Genome Project involved around about 2,183 families spread across different diagnostic categories. So they said this kind of study has been a major step towards embedding whole genome sequencing into standard healthcare, providing valuable lessons which are being applied in the UK National Health Service Genomic Medicine Service. So here they spoke also about optical genome mapping. They said, there's some problems with microarrays, PCR Sanger, multiplex litigation dependent probe amplification, exome sequencing, and panel next generation sequencing. He said they've been pre-screened, but these types of genetic analysis are typically inefficient at picking up inversions. So they said traditional karyotyping can identify inversions, but it's limited to cases that are quite large. So in the event of over 10 megabase pairs. So therefore, nowadays, it's not used frequently using karyotyping, they said, traditional karyotyping to identify inversions. They then spoke about the latest optical mapping methods demonstrate a high concordance with traditional approaches and have the potential to therefore be used as first-line tests for detecting cryptic structural variants. These methods are not yet routinely performed in clinical laboratories. So what I think is going to happen, and when I emailed Eric Topol, who was advising the NHS on innovation, genomics, AI, I asked him, is whole genome sequencing coming to the NHS? Are we going to be looking at prenatal screening as well? And will long-range technology help to pick up what whole genome sequencing misses? And he said yes. And I said, optical genome mapping, will it be used in the NHS alongside long-read sequencing? He said yes. So that was in one of my previous videos. I sent him a few emails, and he just sent me one email back that said yes ×3. So here I just wanted to make a point as well that the people using this optical genome mapping system and talking about embedding it into the NHS, and also talking about, genetic counseling, different things like that, training up nurses to be genetic counselors. If we look at this tweet that these guys shared on the 25th of November, they were talking about the kind of projects that they have. They were speaking about how they're going to bring genomics into everyday healthcare. And now some of these speakers are really important people. We're talking about clinical directors here. So we're talking about Dr. Naomi Chapman. We're talking about clinical fellows, but we're talking about directors of regions as well. So we've got NHS Leeds clinical director here. So they direct and they look after certain regions within the NHS. These guys are aware of the current programs that they run and Dr. Cuthbert's research. Moving forward, let's talk about this job in the United States for Corteva Agriscience. So this is kind of like a pure play agricultural company, but they do a lot of research into genomics. They make a lot of money from pesticides, from seeds, from different types of agricultural foods. So if we scroll down, you'll see that they're recruiting for a senior research associate in genomics. And let's look at the technology that they're using. Perform optical genome mapping operations as needed. Nanopore genomic sequencing. You can see they're starting to utilize more of the innovative Hi-C library constructs and sequencing. They're starting to utilize different machines. Corteva Agroscience is already a partner of Bionano Genomics, I believe, like a research partner. If you type them in, you'll be able to see them on Bionano Genomics website. And it's interesting to see that they continue to research and try to improve their product development pipeline. Next, there's Eureka PhD program, and there's some certain jobs coming up at Institute Curie. So this Institute Curie, if you scroll down, see here, project number 2, optical mapping on single chromosomes of DSB repairs by recombination in normal and cancer cells. Thesis supervisor is Valerie Borde. She is a doctor, research director. Her specialties involve cancer, genetics, and epigenetics, and she's based here within the Institute Curie. Institute Curie is an international expert for several types of cancer, including eye cancers, pediatric tumors, breast cancers, and sarcomas. They are regarded as one of the best research centers in Europe because they combine fundamental research, clinical research, care, and training at the same campus in Paris, the city of love. Next, moving on, I want to remind you of the article saying that, Bionano Genomics and the detection of structural variants. This is an untapped goldmine of information. An article came out from Investor Place. Always be wary of articles, whether they're good or bad, because, you've got some analysts, schmanalists writing about it who just goes with the wind sometimes. So you have to be very careful about what you regard as being, good information, and make sure you take both the good and the bad with a pinch of salt. Make sure you look at it kind of holistically and really look at businesses, but also look at what's going on in the world of genomics. So here, he stated that he believes that Bionano Genomics is well positioned to become a leader in the genomic mapping market, right? This is a growing space, and according to Fortune Business Insights report, the global genome market size is projected to hit $94.65 billion in 2028. So this is an average growth rate of 19.4% between 2021 and 2028. Now, he's stating he believes that the potential for this company is huge when he considers the total addressable market. He's stated as well the additional markets that Bionano Genomics technology can be used for, like crop improvement, genetic editing, and how it has the potential to impact the food industry on a large scale. Although the company is not yet profitable, it's clear there's a lot of potential for Bionano Genomics to grow and become a major player in the genomics field. Now, my face has been cut off here, but I want you to take a look at this. So over in the UK, millions of people have been invited also to take part in the UK scheme to diagnose diseases earlier. So they want to recruit people, around 3 million people, to share their health records and give blood samples and have their DNA analyzed. Eventually, they hope to get about 5 million participants or recruits, and they want to get people forward for this project called Our Future Health. So they want to look at everything from health records, giving blood samples, having their weight, blood pressure, and cholesterol measured and monitored, and their DNA analyzed. Like we said before, we often look at disease and we try to act once we're symptomatic, once you've developed symptoms. Professor Sir John Bell of the Oxford University, chairing the project, has said that healthcare systems tend to be geared towards treating people once they're already sick and developed symptoms. Often this is in the last stages of a disease. So now we're moving into this preventative model where we want to detect chronic disease early or identify people who are at higher risk of the condition before it develops, so we can implement interventions that could be made sooner. And this is for anything ranging from obesity to cancer, mental health. So now this is cool. The ambition is to try and create a sandbox for testing and evaluating these early diagnostic or prevention strategies across a large population of people. And we'll be able to use that population to help us evaluate these new tools, diagnose disease early, prevent disease more effectively, and intervene at an earlier stage. Dr. Raghib Ali, the chief medical officer of the project, said, it's going to produce a lot better outcomes for the patients if we're able to detect this disease early. So this project is government-backed, as well as life science industry, the NHS, charities like the Alzheimer's Society, British Heart Foundation, and Cancer Research UK. All of them are backing it. And they want to build on the success of what we used to have on a previous research resources like the UK Biobank. Moving forward, that being said, we're back onto ourfuturehealth.org.uk. So we're looking at this actual project, which is in partnership with the NHS, utilized during this project. The DNA will be genotyped using an array produced by Illumina. And then the genotype service will be provided by Eurofins Laboratories. Finally, let's talk about a kind of moat and competition, yeah? So Bionano Genomics does optical genome mapping. Here, Nabsys is revealing new details about their next generation whole genome mapping technology and they've got a partnership with Hitachi. So one thing I wanted you guys to know is investment wouldn't come into there if there wasn't, potential for expansion and revenues. There's potential here to have a nice chunk of the pie. There's a nice total addressable market. And I think Hitachi has taken a look at Nabsys and saw the potential that it has to grow and create and generate revenues by looking at large structural variants. Like they said here, looking for solutions for high resolution genome structure variation analysis. There's applications in disease research, clinical diagnostics, and pharmaceutical development. Now, over on the Twitter space, there's some interesting comments by Simon Boyi Chen. This guy is followed by Simon Barnett and Rich Shippey, and he's dropped an interesting tweet. He said that this is an interesting technology that may anticipate future trends in US clinical laboratory medicine, in genetic diagnostics in up and coming 20 years' time. Essentially, genome mapping technologies such as Nabsys, nanopore-based system, and more mature Bionano optical genome mapping. I remember this guy before Albert, he's always criticizing Bionano Genomics, but now he's talking about a competitor and talking about a genome mapping system. He's explaining the technology as well and talking about, removing this optical component because it's electronic genome mapping, and it has potential advantages over optical mapping in terms of higher resolution and more degrees of freedom. So we'll just have to wait and see how this plays out. They said that the company currently says the technology can detect structural variants from 300 base pairs in size up to large chromosomal rearrangements. There's also talk, Simon has spoken about, bringing down sequencing a whole human genome of a patient to about $100 to $200 a piece. But the most significant hindrance bringing that dream to reality in the clinic still remains the insurance reimbursement. So he said this is something that inhibits sequencing at the moment. And it's probably the one that we've been waiting for Bionano Genomics optical genome mapping is reimbursement and some of those medical codes as well, reimbursement codes. He said that genetic testing for various indications, including tumors and inherited disease, can still be difficult to attain reimbursement from US insurers despite mounting evidence of their clinical utility. So he said he looks forward to the next 30 years. And he says that depending on insurers to reimburse genetic testing in the US may unnecessarily slow down labs and companies, and it may even be hopelessly lost cause depending on the situation. So they really need those reimbursement codes in order to continue to move forwards. There can be significant, even massive advantage for company who can also shift maybe direct to consumer. So if they can find out a way to bring genetic testing direct to the consumer, that way you can work your way around the insurers and their allied regulatory health bodies all together, and you'll still be financially viable if the consumer is buying the product directly from you. So he said, think of 23andMe and Invitae. So 23andMe doesn't offer high quality clinical grade products, but if you marry it to Invitae, it offers high quality products, but it's not direct to consumer. Finally, I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Please hit me with a like, hit me with a subscribe, drop me some comments down below. Really appreciate you guys, and I hope to see you guys soon. If you want to drop me any donations as well, I have a PayPal link in my description box below. Every little helps. I hope you found this research useful. Please always remember, none of this is financial advice, it's for entertainment only. And I'm going to catch you in the next video. Drop me some comments on what you want me to cover. I'm also going to be looking at the new acquisition of Purigen by Bionano Genomics. I'm going to look deeper into it. I want to find out exactly how this is going to be part of their business model and what it can do in terms of opportunities, savings as well. So I'll catch you in the next video. Lots of love. Peace to all my cowboys. Mr. Over and out, baby.